Hi guys, today I'm going to be doing a wrap up, which is my first book related video in a very long time. So the first book I finished, I actually filmed a review of, edited it, but then I lost the stuff. Something happened along the way and I couldn't put the review up. But it is the first book I read in 2016 and it is The Girl with Knowing Wick by Sophie van der Stap, and I was actually sent this by the publisher and I really enjoyed it. It is a non-fiction book about Sophie, who was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 21, and it is her trying to deal with that diagnosis. She undergoes chemotherapy which makes her hair fall out, and because of this she decides to get these different wigs, and each different wig presents a different kind of aspect of her personality. So she uses a wig called Una to be quite outgoing. She uses one called Daisy, which might be a blonde one, to be a bit more romantic and shy. They help her through the tough months and they help her forget about the cancer and just kind of become a new woman, and it's a really great book. I enjoyed it because I think I was the same age as her as well. I felt like I could relate to her a lot more, and it made me think, God, you know, what would I do if I was diagnosed at this age? I don't think I would have been as strong as her, to be honest. But yeah, it was definitely worth a read. If you can get your hands on it, I would definitely recommend it. The next book I read is This Is For You by Rob Ryan, which is a different kind of book actually to a normal book, in that it just has lots of different pictures in it. What Rob Ryan does is he's primarily an artist, and he cuts different bits of paper out to create these gorgeous pictures. And I first found out about him because he did the cover of one of my favourite books, The Book of Lost Things, and I saw this and I thought that's the same kind of font and the same style. And this is a story about a young boy asking about love, and it's just really great. It's really beautiful, a very quick and easy read. I really loved his paper creations. The only bad thing about this is because it's so easy to read, you literally just look at it and then turn the page like that. So I think it's over in a while, and that's the one thing I don't like about graphic novels and stuff, is that I read them quickly because there's not a lot of text, and I feel like I don't get the full experience. Because if you spend a week with a book, then you get to know the characters, you get to know the storyline, whereas if you spend an hour or two with a book, I don't feel like you've got that same experience. So the story is lovely, it's illustrated really well. It's just a shame that I felt like I zoomed through it. I know I could have read it slower, but there's only so much time you can spend staring at a picture. So it is definitely worth checking out if you are into that sort of thing. I know he does quite a few books, so yeah, I would definitely recommend. The next few books are graphic novels, and I actually read these when I was at work because I'd been doing these really long, boring days. So I picked these up and I read 3 of these when I was at work. The first one being Miss Marvel Volume 1 and Volume 2. I have read these before, but I wanted to reread them and just kind of get myself back into the graphic novel mood, and they are really great. If you don't know a lot about graphic novels or would like to get into them, especially female-driven graphic novels, then this one is a great one to start with, because I think the thing is with superheroes like Spidey and Batman and things like that, there's so much previous stuff and there's so much lore that you need to know, that sometimes you can feel quite intimidated before you've even started, whereas with this is a brand new superhero. You don't need to know a lot of background to read these and enjoy these. I will say that I definitely enjoyed Volume 2 more than Volume 1, but both great stories. There's characters in here that you will know and recognise, the Avengers, Loki, that kind of thing. The other graphic novel I read was Miles Morales, The Ultimate Spider-Man, and I've really gotten into Spider-Man recently after seeing him in that Captain America trailer. He is one of my favourites, if not my favourite, maybe tied with Batman. I just love the whole idea of Spidey, and I would love to be more well read in him, because I'm quite well read in Batman comics but not in Spider-Man comics. And I picked this one up. This is actually around Miles rather than Peter Parker, which is something a little bit different, as you can see on the back there. And this is after Peter Parker's death, and Miles is a younger kid in school. He's about 13 I think, and he takes over the mantle of Peter Parker, and it's really great. I really love Miles as a character. My only gripe with this is that I really didn't like the way that they drew the Green Goblin. They drew him kind of like that, which I didn't really like that. I don't know, I like classic comics I suppose, and that just looks like a CGI monster to me. It doesn't look like the Green Goblin. It's definitely worth reading, and like I say, Miles is a great character. I would also say that I would love to see Miles somewhere in the MCU. I think that would be marvellous. Whether or not he's Spider-Man, I don't know, but he needs to be in the cinematic universe somewhere because I think he would be really good. The next book I read was a book that I mentioned in my vlog a couple of weeks ago, so I won't talk about it too much, but it's Electric Reads Young Writers Anthology 2015, and I really enjoyed this. It's a group of short stories by young writers in the UK. It's nice to kind of read something by younger people. You can kind of read their passion inside it as well. You know that they've kind of been crafting this story in like for a really long time, so I really liked it. And what I love about short story collections is because you can just dip in and out whenever you want to. They're so nice and easy to read, so I would definitely recommend. The next book I read was Dreaming the Bear by Mimi Thibault, I think that's how you pronounce her name, and how gorgeous is this cover, can I just say. This is, I think, classed as a kind of middle grade children's book. It's quite short, but the inside has massive text. I don't know if you can really tell, but the text is huge, so it didn't take me very long to read at all. It's the story of a young girl called Darcy who lives in the Yellowstone National Park, and one day she comes across a bear, and sometimes real life mixes with dream life. There is definitely a sense of kind of unreality, is that a word, unreality, to the friendship between Darcy and the bear. It's very magical, kind of lots of dreamscapes, and it's just a really nice little story. You can probably get through this in an hour or two, but I really enjoyed it. It has very familiar themes, family troubles, natural world, and kind of isolation that you feel as a young person, but it was definitely worth checking out. The next book I picked up is Lost in Translation, which is by Ella Francis Sanders, and again, I don't know if you could class this as a book, but it is gorgeous. I think it would make a really nice gift. What it basically is a illustrated compendium of untranslatable words from around the world. On each page you have an illustration and a word, and then its definition. So for example, this word here, Carolou, apparently means the mark left on the skin by wearing something tight. Trepverta, I think that says, and that's a witty riposte or comeback that you think of only when it's too late. It's just really pretty, like I say, and it's really nice to have on your shelf. It's a really nice gift for somebody, maybe somebody that likes language, if you're like me and a bit of a nerd. The next book I read was All the Birds in the Sky by Charlie Jane Anders, and I have no idea why I picked this up because it's so not the normal thing that I go for. It's kind of a mix between fantasy and sci-fi. It centres around two characters called Patricia and Lawrence. Patricia is a witch who can speak to animals, and Lawrence is sort of a mad scientist, a bit of a geek. And it follows their life, their meeting, them as children and then them as adults, and they have to save the world basically. And I really enjoyed this actually, a lot more than I thought I would. What I think I liked most about this was the main characters, not so much the plot, because I always say I'm not a plot driven girl, I am a character driven girl, and the two people in this book felt very real. They had their flaws, they had their likes and dislikes, so for that reason I really enjoyed the book. I liked their relationship in the book, the fact that it wasn't like then met, fall in love, and then that's history, as they say. They are friends, and I really liked that. The book mixes technology and magic and nature and science, but I'm not quite sure who the book is targeted at. I've seen it on the shelves of kind of the adult section in Waterstones. It's like in the adult sci-fi section, which I would kind of agree with for maybe the last half of the book, maybe like this bit, but at the start when they're kids it kind of reads like a young adult book, so I'm not really sure who this is for, but I enjoyed it and I think it's definitely worth a read. And the final book I read was a book that I listened to on Audible, and it is David Mitchell's autobiography, Backstory. And I picked this up on a whim because I love listening to Audible books, but I can't listen to fiction. This was something that I found. I don't know why, but my brain just can't concentrate on it. I think unless I'm on a train or something where I'm not really doing anything else, I can't concentrate because I don't commute anywhere. Like, my work is 2 minutes up the road and I drive there. I never take buses, I never take trains, I just drive everywhere or walk. So I mainly use Audible for non-fiction. If you are a fan of the comedian David Mitchell, I don't know how well he is known outside the UK, but he is an actor and comedian. I think the experience of hearing him read the book made it a lot more enjoyable than if I was actually just reading it, because you had his voice and his expression. You can kind of feel his personality on the page, and I really liked that. It was a bog standard autobiography really. He went into his childhood and how he got into acting. He also kind of takes an imaginary walk around London looking at different landmarks and things like that. So if you are a fan of David Mitchell, then I would definitely recommend this. And if you can get it on audiobook, and then I would suggest you would, because I think you would enjoy it a lot more. So those are all the books that I have read in the past few weeks / months. Let me know what you've been reading down in the comments, and yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!